Mirage Arcane Warfare is a new and upcoming multiplayer FPS shooter coming from the creators of Chivalry Medieval Warfare. Now, this is a multiplayer hero FPS, and as you might be seeing from some of the gameplay, and I will get on to a little bit later, in this game I feel there is a lot of a mix between Overwatch and Chivalry, of course. It definitely has the art style and the very hero type player FPS multiplayer shooter that you do get in Overwatch. But it definitely has the great map design, the great combat mechanics, and the overall really satisfying gameplay and feel that you get in Chivalry Medieval Warfare. This is a really good combination, and for me it makes a very, very decent game. In this video, I'm going to be getting into my thoughts on the game. I'm going to be going over certain aspects and what you can expect if you pre-order or buy this game. Currently it is in a beta build, so you can't actually play the game at the moment unless you sign up for the closed beta, but this is going to give you a good idea of what you can expect when the game is finally released sometime in 2017. Let's start off at the menu. The menu is very good. A menu is a very interesting thing in a game. When you first load up, the menu is the first thing you see. It doesn't necessarily deter a player from playing a certain game, but it really helps to create the experience that a player wants when they turn on their favourite game. The menu, in my opinion, is great. It is very satisfying. It has many different options, including, of course, the regular graphics mode. You can change each individual graphics down. You also have custom settings for graphics, and also you have some more in-depth customization. You can change the amount of gore on the battlefield. Not sure why you'd want to do that anyway. But you can also change how the ragdolls play out, or how much blood you can see on the battlefield as well. Now, this really helps for catering to people with many different types of computers. Whether you've got a really beast PC, a really high-end gaming system that can run games full maxed out, you can do this in this game and it looks beautiful. Or if you've got a very low-end PC, a very budget build, you'll still be able to play this game, since the amount of options that they have included for you to be able to turn down, put up, and change around how you want to fit your gaming experience. It is on the Unreal Engine 4. Now, we've seen a lot of games recently that are being put on these pre-made engines, and I don't have a problem with that. I am actually very happy that they're doing this, because it means we're seeing more games, and people that don't necessarily know how to build engines are putting themselves out there, going onto these pre-built engines, these asset stores, and building their own games on top of it. And this is really good, and I think it's really, really helpful for seeing new developers coming around. So this is built on the Unreal Engine 4. So it is obviously very well optimized and very well catered towards the average player. What is Mirage though? So there are two factions you play as in Mirage. You have the Basharani Emirate, who represent the elite of their civilization. They use magic as most of their tools of industry, and they dwell in the grand city of Basharan. With its opulent palaces and fine markets, they believe that magic can corrupt the mind and body if used in excess. And of course, the second faction is the Azar Cabal. They live as outcasts in the desert, cast out from the city due to their communion with the source of magic. They disagree with the Barani for using magic in the name of power and production. Instead, their connection with the Jinn is far more spiritual and less constrained. Both sides are engaged in a civil war to control the magic resources, as well as philosophical arguments around the use of magic. We see how this conflict plays out in the battles of Mirage. So that's a little bit of backstory around the lore of this game. It is very influenced by Arabic cultures, as you will see from this gameplay and the heroes you do play as. But it seems that this is going to be, I don't know in the full game, but it looks like it's going to be solely multiplayer. At least it is at the moment. I don't know if there's going to be any single player elements at all, but at the moment it looks like we're going to have a solely multiplayer game here. Within these factions, you have 6 different classes though. These different classes all have their different abilities and strengths and of course weaknesses, and I'll be going through them now. Viperess is an elusive and agile assassin that uses her mobility and speed to cut down foes. Now personally, I love using Viperess. This is probably one of my favourite classes to use at the moment. With Viperess, you're able to grapple to certain points, you can throw some bouncing shurikens, and you also have different types of abilities. Within these classes, there is a lot of customization actually. You get a class, you have the choice of 3 abilities. There's 6 abilities you can choose between, but of course you can only actually use 3 in the game. So you have to choose whether you want better defense or better attack and things like that. So you can customize your character within its own class. The next class is the Alchemist, the powerful mage that relies solely on the devastating power and capabilities of its magic. I haven't used this mage class as much, and this is because mage class is very orientated towards ranged combat. You're going to be wanting to stay slightly behind your friendly lines, be shooting your mage spells at the enemies. You have very different types of spells, may it be helping your teammates or just solely attacking the enemy. You have the Torrent, which is a hulking brute that excels in melee and uses his size and physical strength to dominate enemies up close. This was actually the first hero that I played as. Now this is your typical tank type class. You're going to be charging into battle with your massive mace, whacking enemies, and of course, because you're a bit of a heavier class, you're going to do a lot more damage, but you're going to be a lot slower on the battlefield. So it's very balanced in that way. Do you want to be fast and nimble, using spells from far back up close, or do you want to be a big hulking brute? This Tyrant has things such as the boulder, where he throws a massive fiery boulder into the enemy, smashing them far. And I've had a lot of experience where, when I was playing as the Viperess, I was trying to use my grappling hook to get away from the enemy, so it kind of reels you into a point. And I used it, and just as I was in midair, I got hit by this boulder, and I went absolutely flying, which makes for some very entertaining moments in the game. The Tyrant is also able to just smash into the enemy and knock them back with the weight of their body. Next is Tinker, a defensive trap specialist that uses her cunning and wit to defeat larger opponents. In my opinion, this is probably one of my other favourite classes in the game. With this class, you are able to get certain things like a wall, a blockade that you can put up. You can also put down mines in certain places. Or you can reel people in with your grappling hook, and you can reel them towards you and then get up close and melee them. Not necessarily great on attack, but very good defensively, but can definitely embellish the team with her grappling in people and throwing people away, putting up walls for your teammates. It is a very team-orientated player, this one. Next you have the Vigilist. This is a Steward defender that supports her teammates with the control over the battlefield and knock around capabilities. Now, in my personal experience, me and my mate really enjoyed playing this character just because we felt it was a little bit stronger than the other characters. This is a sort of spearman troop where you have your shield and your spear. You're able to use an ability where it sort of lengthens your spear, you throw them at the enemy and then you can pull them back. You can also do some shield bashing and getting some really cool spells where you push enemies back. This is a very cool class. I kind of think it might be a little bit more powerful than the other ones at the moment, which is a big reason to why I think a lot of people pick it. You might see in some of the gameplay that there are a lot of people choosing this class to play as. But I do really love this class. It is a very good one to use, and I might just add that all these classes on the whole, I know I said this was a little bit powerful, it might have just been the game I was in, it seemed that people were using it a bit better. But on the whole, these classes are very well balanced. Of course, it is just in closed beta at the moment, but I really love how well balanced it is. And you can't just go off on your own. You have to work as a team because you have the skills and the disadvantages and advantages of each class that have to work together to fill in the gaps of your team. And the final class is the Utropist. This is a staff-wielding hybrid that has magic carpets and a mix of offensive and support capabilities. Me personally, I haven't really used this class too much since it's more of an all-round class, I'd say. It has some magic abilities, a lot like the Alchemist, but of course, you are able to get close to melee, and I'm finding that this class is really annoying to go up against, since they're blasting you from afar with their spells, and you try and get into melee with them because you think that you'll be able to beat them up because they're using their spells more, but then they've got a massive sort of staff that they're just able to whack you with. A very entertaining moment I found is this class actually has an ability, in order to get away from enemies, he gets up on his magic carpet and he flies away. I had a very entertaining moment with that in one of my games. So this is the 6 main classes. Will they add more in the future? I'm not quite sure yet. Maybe these are going to be the main classes. They'll just have to embellish on them, add things to them, and balance them out. Or maybe they're going to add some more classes in later on. I'd really love to see some more classes. Personally, I'd love to see some sort of archery class. That'll be quite cool in the game, especially since it is the developers of Chivalry Medieval Warfare. So we know how satisfying their archery is in their games. Even though there are only 6 classes at the moment though, within these classes there is a wide amount of customization in my opinion. When you go into a class, you choose who you want to be. May it be a more nimble character, one of the assassin's characters like Viperous, or even Tinker is a bit of a nimble character in there as well. Or you want to be a big hulking Torrent or the Utropist. Now, these are very different in the way they play, but also within them you can customize them to how you want. I did mention before you can choose between your different abilities. You have 3 different abilities that you can choose from the Q key, the E key, and the F key. With these abilities you have choices such as building up different walls or kicking people away if you're one of the defensive classes, or you can reel people in or teleport towards places, or just like getting out of the way, or even using massive hulking smash attacks, jumping into the air and smashing to the ground. There's a very, very good ability that I love using as Viperous, where you get your 2 swords and you lunge at the enemy and you slice them up. It does a lot of damage and it is a very good ability to play as. But then I counteracted it with another ability where I was able to grapple hook away. So with this, if I was going up against a big group of enemies, I had the 3 abilities of going for the lunging attack, then grappling away, and then I'd throw my bouncing shurikens at them. This was a very good combination, and you're able to do these sort of combinations to choosing how you want to cater towards your game. I think this use of combinations in the game is really, really good, and it really helps with customization and keeping the game fresh as you go. Not only do you have a different amount of customization within the skills of the game, you also are able to customize the weapons you use. You have a choice, at least at the moment, maybe they'll add more later on, but you have a choice between weapon A or weapon B. Now, I did see in one of the classes, I think it was the Alchemist, weapon A was more of a ranged thing and weapon B was more of a melee one, or the other way round. But with other things such as the Viper's class, weapon A I think is a more heavier attack, so you've got more of a pickaxe and you're doing slower attacks, but it will do more damage in the long run. Or you could choose your loadout B, where the weapon you'll be using does a lot less damage, or a little bit less damage, but is a lot quicker and more nimble, and does more damage with the stabbing and overhead, whereas of course the pickaxe does more with the swing attacks. Now this is very, very interesting and very, very good for customization. I just love the amount of abilities that we can get in this, even if it's just the early beta. I know they're probably going to be working on adding more things in later on. So how is the map design? At the moment I think there's only 3 or 4 maps in the game. Hopefully they'll be adding some more in later on, but the map design is very, very good. It's very flowing, keeps it going very well, and I think it's very even both sides. From what I have discovered is the spawn points are very random, it seems, or at least you're not always in the same place. Let's say the enemy is mostly around one area, you're going to spawn further away from them. This is good because it means that you're not going to have spawn killing constantly. So let's say if you just had some dedicated spawn points, the enemy might just stand there and spawn kill you all the time. It's very good that they've added it in, so where if the enemy's at one place, you're going to spawn in another place, so you've got a chance at least to get into the battle. Map design is very, very balanced, like I said, and the different maps are very different. One map you have actually the ability to fall off the world. I did do that a few times by accident. It's always awkward when you're jumping off a building thinking that you have your grappling hook, but your grappling hook ability hasn't actually recharged, so you end up just smacking into the ground. You know, it doesn't end too well, but you know, you kind of have to watch out for what you're doing. There's also a very sandy map, which is good for more ground combat, and a more city map, which I think is better for spells. But in all, the map design is very, very good. So what about gore and graphics? In my opinion, the gore and the graphics really just make this game its own. Of course, you may be thinking this looks a little bit like Overwatch. well, in my opinion, yes, it does look a bit like Overwatch, but it's completely own IP, and you can tell how they have made it their own. They have used so much from Chivalry that I am very happy about, and I think most of the fans will be happy about, since Chivalry was such a successful game. Having the ability to go around places and chop people's heads off, even when their bodies are on the floor, dismember them, chop their heads off, chop their arms off, is very interesting. You can even chop someone completely in half. And if they explode in a massive fiery ball, they'll go flying, whack into objects, blood will fly off them, and it's very, very satisfying. Gore is something very nice that they have added into the game. Optimization, I think, is great. I was playing on the highest graphics, and I was getting around 50 to 60 FPS on an i5 4690K and a GTX 960, so it's a very mid-range build. But I'm able to play this game on the highest graphics with absolutely no issues whatsoever. So I am very, very happy with how this is optimized. So Mirage is on track to hopefully be released later in 2017. I definitely recommend you guys go and check this out. There will be a link in the description to the Steam store page and of course the website as well. You can go and check this game out for yourselves. But I'll definitely be doing more videos on this game if you're interested to see, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave a comment if you want to see more videos on this, maybe some live stuff or just talking about the certain classes and walking you through each individual class on its own. But other than that, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Mirage is a very promising game and I can't wait to play it some more. But until then, I will see you in the next one.